Hello guys, can you hear me? Sound check. Sound check. All right, great. Thank you guys. All right, so today I wanted to make a brief update on the situation and what's going on, and also cover a few questions that are, I would say, understandable, frustrating, why we have done some things, and hopefully I will shed some lights on why we need to do some things in this way. So I actually gathered some important points that I would like to go through today. And obviously, I'm not trying to sit here and make excuses. I'm trying to be as open as possible and explain exactly what we're doing and why, and the reason of why we're here today. So if you just give me 1 second. So obviously these are the big questions, right? The queue. What's going on with the queue? Why are we not ready to support all the players we anticipated and have mentioned? And the big question: why did we release when it seems like we're not ready for the players this time around? And looking back on when we started the first stress test, this first stress test was very similar to this. That gave us the first and biggest opportunity to get a lot of players flooding our servers as close as is possible when doing a real release, even though the pressure isn't even remotely close to what we had in a real release. But anyway, that intention for that stress test was obviously to make sure that what's going on with the capacity and the login and all that. And if you were a part of that stress test, we got quite the chaos that we expected. That lasted for several days until we managed to get that under control. And that was obviously one of the main reasons. In a live scenario where we have those issues that happens, that gives us the rare opportunity to actually work with them. You can only simulate and test so much with fake numbers and bots, right? And unfortunately, we don't have the luxury in being a company like Blizzard, or running those games like Final Fantasy, when it means that we can tap into 100,000 players, quickly and easy to make a test and make sure that, okay, now we have this pressure, we can do what's necessary to handle it, right? So that's been one of the biggest challenges for us as a small indie company. We don't have the resources to get that a lot of attention from players to signing up, helping us with our stress test, etc. We've done everything we can to get as many as we could, and we hit that roof with the first stress test, which we've been very grateful for being able to achieve. And we have fixed all those issues that occurred during that stress test. So we knew that, okay, now things are 100% stable, we're running, and we did what we could at that point. And scaling that up, again, using simulations and bots, we saw that there's a linear scaling that should follow that with continuously increasing amount of players. And so we ran the beta for several months on top of that to make sure everything is as ready as it can be. And obviously, as you know, we hit the release and we got a lot of players showing up, which obviously we're super grateful for, seeing that, okay, there's a big audience that are looking for a game like this. And we tried to also be as clear and open as possible that there will be chaos during our release, just as any other MMO game in the world, pretty much. Like we all been there playing with many MMOs in the past. I assume that you guys have had that experience as well. And so there's only a few things we can do that, even though we get 100 things correct, it's enough with one error, one issue that kind of makes it very difficult for us. So the only way for us to solve this situation for real and have it really working is just as we did in the stress test. We need a pressure of players, just as we have now. If we would stop the game, shut it down, as understandably many of you guys suggest, that means the problem disappears temporarily because we have nothing to work with. We can't really confirm it, just as we did in stress test, which means how long will we be working in the shadows and the unknown, thinking we improved things or not, and then we go out publicly say again, now we think we're ready, let's go another round. People show up again, maybe, and if that means we're in the same situation again, that will just be a big slap on the face, right? So this is the big challenge, which is insane for us and extremely frustrating because are screaming in agony, in pain, when we know what we need to do to make this work. And it's so understandable that many of you guys are tired of this and are anticipating a much more stable release than we had so far. So again, we are fully understandable of that. People are upset and not happy with this release. We are not happy either, obviously, with how this has been running so far. But it is kind of unavoidable for our point of view. If we shut down, like I said, we can't really confirm that we're actually fixing any technical issues. So if we lower the pressure on the servers, we can't solve the issue. And that means we're just postponing this situation again and again. And doing that a couple of times, that means we don't have a very bright future for those players to give the game a chance again. That I guess everyone could understand why. So this is why we struggle so hard day and night now while we are in this situation. Exactly how it was in the stress test. We worked day and night in the stress test to fix it, and we did within a few days. So what happened now is that we have made progress, important progress. We identified different things that happens that are new steps that didn't happen with the previous lower stress in the servers. As you can see, we also made some polish on the actual visual feedback, so you can see what's going on the queue system with an actual number. So we're adding that polish along with the more important updates that happens on our end. So one of the big thing that we found today as well, again thanks to you guys that helps us with this stress on the servers, is that we found a cap on how packages are being handled on a certain point in the server, which also means that now with that identified, because that have never been close to a cap in the past with our stress tests. So that means we are obviously working on increasing that cap for tomorrow. So tomorrow we plan to have additional updates on the server, and hopefully, things will speak more for itself rather than, me or the team saying things. Obviously, we want to update everyone that, we're working day and night on this, and we're not stopping until we're ready, because we do have the unique opportunity to work while we are in this situation. So we are very grateful for your patience and support. And we also, again, are fully understandable that, everyone is unhappy, not pleased with how things have started out. It would be, strange if we don't all feel this frustration right now. One thing obviously makes us feel that a lot of people care about this game or have high hopes that this will be that sandbox that many have been looking for. And again, what we think is positive is that throughout the whole beta, people that try the game actually enjoy the game. Obviously, if you can't get into the game in the real Milan world, obviously it's hard to judge the game based on that was up till yesterday a quite broken login system. Again, that got broken at a certain point with the stress we have now again. So again, sadly, that is something we couldn't have luxury to. We did additional stress tests, but we couldn't reach a higher number. So we were pretty much in the shadows. We couldn't see what could be the next step where things simply, go through the roof or breaks. So I hope it makes kind of sense what I'm trying to explain here, that there's no quick and easy solution in terms of just shutting things down. It wouldn't have made a difference whatsoever if we postponed the release for 1 year even, because these issues wouldn't have been visible for us throughout the whole beta. We did fix everything we could throughout the stress test we had, and then we couldn't get more capacity because, again, we are a small indie team. We don't have Blizzard's resources to just click a button and let in 100,000 players whenever we need to test things and make sure we can fix things. So that is the unfortunate side of being a small independent company, not having that kind of resource available for you when it comes to working with these things. So yeah, I hope that kind of makes sense what I'm trying to explain here. So that obviously, again, we got quite a few questions regarding subscription, if that can be postponed or such. Obviously, we're not starting any subscription time, no free time during, that time won't start while we are in this situation, obviously, because, we need to go through this time, and we're happy that you guys have the patience to keep trying and going into the game and help us with this step. So we're very happy with that. And again, 100,000 players doesn't mean 100,000 players online at the same time. As you can see, we have a quite a normal ratio in terms of how many copies sold, and now that also those are represented over a 24-hour period of time when people try to log into the game. So obviously we shut down our marketing, so we're not pushing additional sales, and we are in contact with some main guys at Valve in this whole situation. I already prepared them before the release, of everything we're expecting and what we're doing. We're very transparent with Valve as we are with you guys. And they're being extremely helpful and supportive. They say that this is not the first rodeo, and this is very common, especially in multiplayer games. And like they said, they got our back when it comes to handling this and communicating, which have been very helpful. So we have set up an internal goal with Steam as well, where we obviously need to have a properly progression. And as long as we can follow that schedule along with them, then things should be good. Steam have the refund policy, and everyone should follow those policies. If you feel that you want to wait, or you have tried getting into Haven, or for any reason, then please follow their refund policies, because that is what we are following as well. And as long as you follow those rules on Steam, then you should be able to go through that process. So that is regards of where we are with Steam as well. So yeah, again, I hope that it makes some kind of sense why we need to go through this situation when it comes to queue, the server shutdown, delay, the common big question from many of you guys, and that there's no easy solution through this other than we have to fix it while we can see the issues and monitoring them and actually implement the fixes and confirm now it's working. You guys can confirm now these parts are working, then things can go back to normal again. So that is our number one goal here, obviously. So there's a lot of questions going through right now quickly, which it's hard for me to go through them, but I try to capture the most important updates so everyone at least knows what's going on and why we are going through it like this.
Oh my god, another one. Another one. Oh my god, another one. Another one.
So tomorrow is an important day for us because that means we will implement one of the improvements when it comes to the package cap we hit today. So with today's patch, we actually progressed quite well, believe it or not. The queue, we have identified the last pieces of issues that we're working on to implement as well. And we notice when when a big amount of players are logging at the same time on the server and how the different server pieces are communicating with each others. I'm sure you noticed, or if you were here, that was a worldwide lag on the server. We identified what is causing this lag. It's not a hardware cap, like a CPU hitting the roof and that's it, queuing up. It's actually involving the packages handling which we are greatly improving for tomorrow when we update the server again. And then we will keep following that. We will mimic a new influx of adding a lot of players through the queue and monitoring this, and hopefully that cap have been removed or at least greatly improved. Yeah, so the 100k question. So again, I have been unclear, and I want to repeat that as well. So when it comes to 100k players, 100k players, that is distributed on all our hardwares, including Havens. So that will never mean that we will ever have 100,000 players on Milan. Milan is physically too small to handle 100,000 simultaneously players, and that's have never been a target or physical possible. Like I said, we have 100,000 players in total. That doesn't mean that remotely close to these are ever simultaneously online at this current time. You see a rough calculation or estimation on the Steam charts. We're peaking around 10,000 on an almost daily basis. So if you imagine around 100,000 players, we're looking at peaking at 10,000 players. So that's an average of a tenth, which is quite common for MMO. So yeah, so I want to make clear that it will never be 100,000 on Milan.
Another one.
So yeah, FK timers. So yeah, we're looking into as well, obviously. Now when we know that it takes time to get into the game, even though we're starting to get it more reliable. The problem with it was pre-patch with the new queue, people were in a dead login queue, which meant you could stand there for days and you would never have gotten in. So that was a serious issue that happened after a certain amount of pressure and time in that queue system. That, again, never happened throughout our stress test because we weren't close to that kind of pressure. When we identify that, then obviously we're going straight on it and trying to solve it. Which means that that have been removed right now. So as long as you have a queue number, you are in that queue number. That pretty much went bananas in our previous version. So we're taking great steps forward when it comes to giving a reliable queue system that you can rely on pretty much, and you won't get into an infinite loop state. And then yes, obviously that kind of put the pressure on that. If you do manage to get in, you may not want to log out, right? That is also understandable. But that means that some people may stand AFK, go to sleep, wake up, and continue your gaming session, which obviously isn't optimal. So we are looking into some of the auto system when it comes to disconnect clients, and our GMs are also going through the different states where player may seem busy, but they're not present, unattended, pretty much. We're trying to go through that as well. Again, to just give as much rotation as possible within now when we're working on the actual main improvement of the servers. So we do what we can next to that.
Oh my god, another one. Another one.
And yeah, it was obviously very unfortunate with today's rollback. One of the worst things happened. We got corrupt data. We got characters disappearing, and many different strange things happened. So one of the things that kind of started this chain reaction was one bug that kind of put different nodes in infinite loops. The queue login system wasn't working as intended. Everything went into a worst possible chain reaction So, and we went through the database, see how far do we need to go back until it's saved again. And unfortunately, we had to go back a day to get things back on a normal status. So yeah, very unfortunate technical issues on our end when it comes to that. Our goal is always obviously to make sure that game time spent in the game is not being wasted in terms of rollback or wipe or anything like that. But when there's no option for us to salvage what we had and get the database to work again, there's no other options. And obviously we went back as far as necessary to make it work again. There was a lot of things that broke, and it forced us to go back to that one. That also gave us some information how we can again secure some of those steps. So hopefully we will be able to avoid any large rollback in the future. So again, we don't have a maximum cap on Milan. What we're doing, and that we've been doing in the past days, is going through the load distribution. We have different nodes throughout the whole Milan, and there's a balance system that there's a requirement on where that load needs to be before gaming experience becomes bad. And that means, depending on what happens on the different nodes, that sends the stress load to the balancer, and that modifies the queue, if it's gonna let in more or if it's gonna pause letting in, and then when people logging out doing the rotation. So that kind of means that right now, if there's a hotspot in the world where a lot of people show up, or there's a huge battle or whatever, that means that puts a little bit more strain on the login server if it reaches a certain load, which means queue will slow down. And as soon as that stress has been reduced to a more normal state or being spread out over different nodes, the queue can start pick up in a higher volume again. So it's a more clever dynamic system of adding new players based on load. And these node setup have been something we're working on to identify the different hotspots and loads and split them up and add more of them, so that won't be a high factor of determine overall capacity. And like I mentioned, we found a very important cap today on how packages are being dealt with that kind of hit the roof, and the whole server is being affected by that. When you, for instance, when you cast a spell on yourself and that spell effect happens a few seconds later, when that goes to extreme, that's when the packages have kind of hit the roof, and those packages queue up. That obviously makes it pretty much unplayable. So it was a very important found for us today, and that we can work on that and increase that cap for tomorrow's updates. Again, that's been a number that we never got close to throughout the whole beta and stress test. So even though it's been rough, we are taking very important steps forward, and we feel very confident that just as we did in the stress test that took quite a few days, we will go through it in the same way here, and we will get those numbers that we need to have to be happy with Murland and have a steady rotation on the queue. We just need the time to go through it, and we are making progress on a daily basis. So yeah, I think that covers the big question that obviously everyone have in terms of what the hell is going on with the login status. why weren't we prepared, and why didn't we delay? The simple answer is we couldn't have solved this without going through it, just as in the stress test. We wish that, if we knew that we only need to work on this for this many more months, then obviously we would make that happen. If we knew that there was something that wouldn't have worked, and we knew that if we change that and it will work, then 100% we would have done that. But throughout the whole latest year, throughout the beta, there was no indication of that any of these new errors could have happened until it actually happens. And again, that is obviously something we are, it's unfortunate, and we are, apologizing for that being a bad first experience in Mortal Line. Exploiters. So yeah, as we mentioned in the past, obviously we are always taking a strong stance against any exploiters, cheaters, and also we are battling any grief mechanics that happens in the game. We found a lot of valuable data, balance, and all kind of things throughout the whole beta, and until when things are silent and slow down and we don't see any more main issues, that usually tells us that we have made great improvements so far. There's been a few things when it comes to spawners in our game that haven't been on a normal ratio, and different players have gone through these different spawners and been got rewards from those, and
oh my god, another one.
So the thing is here, if we can measure that this is a clear exploit or abuse, there's no doubt about it, and that's it, then we will take a stance against that. If it's a game balance that no one knows really, is this normal or not, because how will everyone knows depending on what it is?
Oh my god,
so we're going through that. So as soon as we get some breeding room, obviously the server is number one right now, as you can understand. As soon as some of our guys can have a spare moment, we will go through the database in more great detail. Everything is logged and saved, so people can't just hide an item and think it's not visible. Obviously it's all stored in a database, and we will go through that as soon as we can breathe. And if we are confirming some of these that we know this is added to the game in a unfair way, we will simply remove it from the database. So that means there will be no wipe. We are not wiping the server. We are going through the data, and we'll manually handle that. There's thousands of players that have been playing quite a bit, and obviously we don't want to punish everyone for just a few cases. So it's very important for us to go through those cases instead. So I see that it's coming down to most the same questions over again. I'm trying to cover what's most important, and again give everyone an update and explain ourselves why we need to go through this, and why the solution is not to shut down the server, because what are we fixing when the problem disappears in front of us when no one is playing on the servers? We will go through this just as we did in the stress test, but we needed time. And yeah, you know, we're a small indie company and things are not as traditional as with most other MMOs. You know, most other MMO games have a completely different resource situation. Like I said, I wish that we could click a button and get 100,000 to sign up and be active to test the game, so we could have gone through this in a beta situation. But it's impossible. We are too small. We don't have that audience following us. So, and you know, we got these numbers when we went live, and that was the only situation we could have gotten those numbers. And that showed us the main issues that we didn't have before. And now we're working on them, and we will fix them. Everyone will be able to play for free during all this, obviously. So we hope that, you know, obviously if you're totally fed up with sitting in queue or anything like that, fully understandable that, you know, you're taking a break or don't want to participate in the steps when we need to go through this and actually solve it. But we do highly appreciate if you guys are still trying, you know, every now and then jumping into the game, because it's extremely valuable for us, because it is the only way for us to solve it. There is no other way. We can't just hire you know, the best coder in the world and he will magically fix it, because it's not possible. It's not. That's not what the issue is. But again, you know, we're all passionate about jumping into the game and enjoying it as soon as possible, right? So I would also be annoyed, no doubt. I will be very annoyed if I had to go through several days of waiting time and you know, bad experience pretty much. This is the game I would love to find and play. I've been waiting for this game for many years. I put pretty much more than half my life invested in this, not only all my fundings, but also my whole life energy and work pretty much. So I'm heavily invested in this, and obviously this greatly hurts to go through this, because I know I have no other options. I have to, and we will stick to it, and we will make it happen. And I hope that people will, you know, give the game a chance, try it again whenever, and actually judge the game experience rather than the login struggle that we have right now. And yeah, I mean, we are surprised that, you know, there's so many of you guys that are really supporting it, even though we don't deserve it right now. Understandable. But it makes a huge difference, you know. It's day and night difference for us. It's because we are really working day and night, and that is also why that you've seen some guys being less active on Discord, taking a short break and just focusing on work, because obviously getting nasty words comes with the work, but you know, at some time it can become a little bit too much. But I'm not trying to hide or anything. I'm always transparent, and I'm here, even though that I knew that this stream, you know, will not be the most exciting stream because people are not happy, and that's just, you know, understandable. So yeah, again, we do want to thank you guys for being with us through this initial struggle, and we will get past it. And we just hope that you guys that really, you know, got enough from this experience, we hope that you will at least revisit it again sometime in the future to you know, judge the game experience, because obviously it hurts extremely in my heart to see that throughout the whole beta we got a good flow of players finding game first time ever. We got a good communication with those players, and people were loving the game. We got a really good review on Steam. Everything was moving up. We were reaching over 80%, and it gave us a clear indication that people have been looking for something like this. A lot of people enjoying it. Not everyone, but some are really enjoying it. So obviously it hurts to see that being completely pulled down by 99% being queue issues, logging in issues. It hurts, obviously. And I talked to Steam instantly. What is the best practice here? How do we handle it? Because we're struggling, similar how we did in the stress test. What should we do? How can we do this the best possible way? We are trying to be as transparent as we can and explain exactly what we're doing, and we're working on it non-stop, And they just told us, stick to exactly what you're doing and, show the progress. We are transparent. They, think that is the best way also, which we also think. And they're supporting us, and that feels great. So they know very much what's going on and why our rating is going down because of one big technical issue that is affecting the game experience, obviously. And of course, it's sad for all of you guys that have been playing throughout the beta and really enjoying it and seeing that this kind of takes off the focus. But it's unavoidable at this point. There is no magical solution, and we couldn't have done it any other way. We could have, like I said, there's no solution to avoid this insane login situation. Just like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy, New World, those are some of the biggest companies in the world, and they go through the same situation. Login system, queues, going to that insane level, and they're working on it and fixing it the same way as we are. The big difference is, you can remove a few zeros, and you can remove a huge amount of developers, obviously, and resources. But, in short, we are in the same situation. So yeah, and I don't know if there's any point of covering other grounds. These are the big questions that keeps repeating, right? And that's why I wanted to put the text on here as well, to try to cover those points. And I wanted to explain in my own words why why didn't we delay or put it down? The answer is we would be in the same position when we started again, and we need to fix it. So yeah, if there's not any other topics or interesting things anyone would be willing to discuss or ask about right now, I would just be repeating myself with the questions I see right now. Our GPU at 100% at login screen. Yeah, we haven't really spent too much time in optimizing the login screen. So for some users, it's using quite a bit of the GPU. Obviously, that is something we can optimize. It just haven't been the main focus currently. But yeah, we will most likely revisit to optimize that quite a bit. We can also reduce the FPS quite harsh, which also gives you more headroom for the GPU. We're not using your GPU for anything else than rendering that scene, which is quite a big chunk from the world, so it's quite a bit to render. And there's also a high detail fur on Koga to the left, which is the same in the game. So yeah, that is the reason we're not hiding anything else in that scene. If that's what anyone think. So says Joe, thank you for donation. I noticed there was some exploits fixed infinite spawn last patch. Can you tell us no personal take? Yeah, so that I covered that a few minutes ago. We had quick respawners, a few ones in the world that random people have been visiting, and that is have been fixed. Obviously, we didn't mean that they would respawn that fast. So, like I said, as soon as we get some breathing room for the main task, which is the login servers, as soon as we have that more under control and people can start enjoying more of the game, we will go through the database in more detail, and we will track some of those things that we know comes from those that wasn't in the correct timer or balance, and we will simply remove them from the database. And it will affect those players that got them pretty much. So we have never really set 10,000 as
oh my god,
the normal cap for Midland. Even you guys have been guesstimating what will feel crowded enough or populated enough on Midland. The thing is, we notice now that even when you throw in a few more thousand players, the lands consumes them, just as our animals. Many of you guys know or have been commented that there's still a little bit too little wildlife in some areas of the game world. We have more than 25,000 animals, and they are pretty much consumed by the vast land masses. So it's hard to estimate how many there are and in what areas. Obviously, there are natural hotspots in the world for players. There are some cities that are more popular than other ones. That is obviously, showing that, okay, today Medieval is quite crazy in terms of population and people going there. So it's still too early to estimate what would be the maximum cap we're happy with. When can we start optimizing, going through those bottlenecks where it feels for you as a player as well that, okay, there's a very good population. We don't need more because it's just going to be houses everywhere and, too much over time, which is our natural step towards a second continent to, again, give a more natural living world with normal population moving around in the different world parts, and also give proper room for players to build their own houses and cities. Because if you imagine over time, thousands of players will most likely start building their houses in the world, and just add 5,000 houses on the steppe. It's gonna be like a metropole, right? So we do want to find a balance there as well. We have blocked off a few areas where it's not possible to build, but most empty spots are buildable. It's part of the sandbox, so it's up to the players. So we will see the more exact number over a period of time, I would say. And like I said, as soon as we have just a few hundred more population cap on Midland, then very quickly the queue rotation changes very quickly. And also now we're still in the extreme situation where everyone wants to log in, quite, hyped to get in quickly and play. That means much longer game sessions rather than a normal game session, down the line. Appreciate time and effort because of the system. Do you think it will help if us players start to relocate to lesser populated cities when they're able to get in? It does help when people spread out, no doubt. So the more players that are in each other's interest list, the more strain on that node. But obviously, we can't have that to the extreme level where, we blame the players, move around, spread around, or you're going to have bad performance. Obviously, that cannot be the case, right? And we have found quite a lot headroom there, and we are deploying some of these tomorrow. So it should be more the point where you feel that, holy shit, I can't reach the bank, and my FPS is going down a little bit too much because there are people everywhere.
Oh my god.
I decide to pick a new location or move out. That should be more the natural option for the players, but it's still their choice. Would you ever consider this a system like dynamic layer in cities to ease the load? That is actually something we are experimenting with right now as well. So in cities, we don't see the demand for having such insane view distance for other players, right? Because you're not usually in war. You don't have to watch your guard who's who. You're just running around there. Many are going to the different shops and banks, etc. So that is actually one of the big optimization we're also looking to add. We are shrinking the interest list in those cities, so it doesn't affect your both the node and you as a player also, because you don't need all that data from those 50 people inside a bank when you're just outside or going down in the tin room sewers, for instance. So that is actually one of the things that we see. There's quite a bit of headroom to save in that area, actually.
Oh my god.
Another one.
So CPU usage quite high. Will they fix lower? I mean, for the login screen. So yeah, we can optimize the login screen a bit. It's just not highest in the prioritized order right now. We're trying to dedicate all our bright minds on the actual bottlenecks on the servers right now, and they are doing good progress, and we just need the time. Before the rollback, I earned 3 clay from Walking Dead in Haven. Now I spend more time to get my progress back. Totally unfair. Yes, the walkers have been reduced, but we also increased the bandits on Haven. And yeah, we do understand that when we do these different balance changes now, that again have quite heavily changed. So throughout the beta, Haven progression in terms of going through all this got to a degree where, okay, everyone is happy with it, we're good. And then obviously Q and all these different situations changes that completely based on the beta test, which obviously puts the obvious question on how do we handle this to make the future best for the game, and how will this pan out when the Q isn't a problem anymore. So we try to measure what's best and more correct for the game now, but also when things are running as expected. Again, unfortunate that those things happens now throughout the login struggle, but I think that as soon as we are done with what we need to hear, those issues won't be really the same. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Sephiroth, for the bits.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Out here, keep up the great work. We appreciate it. Thank you very much for the subscription. And yeah, like I said, yeah, it's a strange feeling. Obviously, it's an insane situation we are in. No matter what and how much prepared we were for chaos, and we knew that there's most likely going to be a new bottleneck if it goes higher than in the stress test. me and the team have such high passion for this project, obviously investing 16 years of our life and pretty much everything in this. It's obvious that you know, we can feel the fire in the stomach, right? And it's not very pleasant working situation, but we also knew that, you know, we signed up for this, we're offering this, and we just need to go through it, no matter how much hell it may be these initial days, because we have a dream to offer a game like no other. And when you get to experience the game, that is happening, and that is what people are experiencing. So obviously we don't want to give up. We don't want to throw in the towel that, you know, okay, it's the same chaos as the stress test. So many are upset.
Oh my God.
We should give up, or, you know, I don't think that is the right step, because we still have the game that, you know, got that high rating that a lot of people have been very excited about enjoying throughout the months. So we really just have to stick with our goal and reach that point. And, you know, this will be just you know, look back at okay, that was a rough first release, but hopefully now we can focus on the game experience after that.
Oh my God.
Another one.
Duffer mobs spawn only when players were close to them, isn't thousands of mobs stumping down performance. So we have done quite a lot of AI optimization, which means the AI is not running around doing calculations when there's nothing. It's in a sleep mode. So it's not until you get close to them, you wake them up pretty much. So the AI is not really, you know, a bottleneck that is competing of the players. It is certain steps when packages being sent between the different nodes, servers, and clients to each others. And this is where we have a very clear cap. And when that happens, action queues up and you experience a long delay. Like I said, when you do a certain command, you will see that happen several seconds later. That is when that cap has been reached and it stacks up. Again, the good part is that our guys have found that cap can be modified and changed. So we are very hopeful, and it, you know, gives us very much motivation, excitement that we will deliver that tomorrow, and we will run a new, you know, check, throw in a lot of players again to reach that cap and see how we are affecting it. Possible to at least do server restart just to remove AFK players. We, like I said, we are enabling some of the systems to handle this more on an automatic step, and our GMs are also doing the unattended checks every now and then and actually remove players from the game. And hopefully it will soon not, you know, be necessary at all for the GMs to do, because we will have more systems that handle that correctly. I missed a message there, sorry. Yeah. Lord from NA, those who believe NA doesn't. Thank you for the bits. How do you feel about adding slow walking to magic casting before you hold the spell? It will make casting feel smoother if you could at least walk a little. It's a good question, and it have been a debate and under testing throughout the years, pretty much. The thing is that ecumenical school is meant to have the rule that you need to be standing still, precast your spell, and then you can run around to release it. It's part of the balance, and it's part of the cast times, range, and damage and heal ability. And over the years, we pinpointed those numbers to feel good in terms of balanced and a lot of player skills, and playing that role correctly can be very rewarding. But we also understand that, especially new players that feel that those rules are a bit odd compared to maybe other spells from other games. But the thing is that we will have other schools that actually allows that. So there will be different styles. I missed another one. Sorry, I'm too slow here.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Will there someday be musical instruments? Will the sheet music use MIDI files? There will be instruments, yes, and it's also actually a key tool for one of the magic schools, which is harmonism. So yes, along with that school, then we will have instruments. We plan to add those also as a normal RP element, and for having on certain inside certain buildings, etc. Citizens will be able to play those background music, and players will also be able to play those. We aren't done with how you will play your music yet, in terms of how you determine those details, but that is something I'm designing with Mats, and Mats are a pure genius when it comes to designing very exciting and cool, deep, meaningful systems, just like our crafting system in our game. So I'm quite sure that it's going to be an exciting way of how you will use instruments.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Philly the White, thank you for the subscription. Why are you players seemingly getting better queue positions than NA players? There is no reason whatsoever that your ping have any effect on acting on your queue system, actually. When you click the connect button, just as anyone from 1 ms to 400 ms, our system check your ID and give you a timestamp. That's it, quite the basic of a queue system. And your ping doesn't matter in that case.
Oh my god, another one.
Another
So
one.
yeah. Does the additional server content rely on the UF5 updates, or will new contents be added in like it was in Model 1? There's some big changes happening when we step over to Unreal 5. Nothing in relation to the network, but quite a lot when it comes to handling data, performance, lightning, moving to other level streams, and moving to other continents.
Oh my god.
So there's gonna be an improvement when it comes to level streaming, because we hit the cap pretty much on what's possible in Unreal 4 with the huge amount of data and content we have in a huge open world. And that is what happens when you go through different areas and you get a little, you frame freeze for a few seconds, or just, feels like that. That is a level stream. And that is something that is pretty much rewritten in Unreal 5 that utilize handling that data in a better way. Henrik, as someone who has been around since day one, I'm just here to let you know we ain't going anywhere. We are by your side. Continue grinding in fixing the issues, my good friend. And I'm sure all of this will be behind us one day. Thank you for the hard work, but the job is not done yet. Keep at it. thank you very much, and I fully agree. We are not done yet. We will go through it, and when we finally have, then yes, hopefully we can look back at it as a rough start for Mortal Online, but you know, exciting future ahead.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Thank you very much, Almighties. Thank you for the gifts and bits. Henrik, is Mats working as a consultant? Yes, we are very much working together, Mats and us. You know, he's been doing a lot of the magic when it comes to our game trailer that we released before. And we have made a new release trailer that is the best trailer I've seen in my entire life. I have to be honest that when I saw it fully, you know, edited and finished from Mats, I got a tear in my eyes because, you know, a lot of emotions and a lot of stress, obviously, but it's the best thing I've seen. And obviously, we're holding that back because we don't want to push anything extra until we have this under control. So obviously, it's kind of sad as well, sitting on an amazing trailer, but obviously we don't want to push that live when we are in this position. So that is also something we're very looking forward to. When the storm is calming down, we do have some exciting steps forward. And obviously we want to kick that starting with announcing that trailer because it's something really, really cool. And yes, you know, Mats is always helping and working with lore text, designing some of the systems, balance. So yeah, it's been an important part of the journey over the years, and he's been part from the project between Mortal 1 ending to, you know, moving towards Mortal 2, and then he kind of, you know, we have built up that work again and working closer together. Quite early fight, but do you think you could give an extremely rough estimate about when we will see roadmap? Just curious in what order you intend to make certain changes. Yeah, so obviously again, 110% focused on the main issue, right? As you all can understand. As soon as that is under control, we have gathered additional reports that we want to polish and get under control before we take the next step, which is, you know, reaching new content and features. And that's when we're gonna announce that roadmap. So I can't say even a rough estimate right now, depending on these steps that we are in right now. So we'll get back to that one. Skull Wolf Sand, thank you for the subscription. Henrik installed, thank you so much for all the hard work. I hope you're all getting enough sleep. I'm excited for the future of the game and can't wait to make my home same where fun. Make my home somewhere fun. Thank you very much. Thank you for the bits. And yeah, like I said, we, you know, it feels almost like we don't deserve his support at this point because obviously it feels horrible to be in this position. Even though we kind of knew that it is unavoidable, we don't just know how far and how much. Very much like in a stress test, right? But we need to go through it. There's no other option and solution. And yeah, we're just super grateful that you have the patience and hopefully understanding of why.
Oh my god.
And that, yeah, we'll get past it. We'll be getting more customizable bow crafting options. As it stands now, crafting materials all look the same and the bow design are not as cool as the other weapon types. Would be awesome feature for bow crafters. So it's We designed the system just as we did with weapon crafting back in the days. Again, we tried to follow some logical that what makes sense, and again also very much tied to real life rules, which people can recognize both in terms of materials and how you do things. So it is following the intended design, and there will be more types. We actually cut a few types both for all the weapon types, handles and heads, but also a type for the bows. So we do plan to revisit to add new styles and options that also have different pros and cons in bows, but also in all other weapons, shields, and so on. So it will expand over time, just as all those other areas. And so yeah, but in general, it will still remain the same type of system how you make it, but there will be more options for sure. Thank you for the subscription, Mr. Sheep TV.
Oh my god.
And thank you for the bids, Mikey. Why do you keep the game on sale and seemingly seek a new player when you can't even support the players you have right now? I love a game, but it feels dishonest. Yeah, very good question and fully valid. And it's one of the questions I covered earlier in the stream here. So we are in direct contact with Steam. How should we handle this? And we are prepared and ready to pause sales. It's been a Luna sale, which means have been pretty much in the shadows, which actually have been quite suitable at this point of time. But it's also very important that we have the same type of pressure on the servers, because if that goes down to under the current pressure, we have nothing to work with. And that is something that fears us greatly, and that is why we're working day and night. Because now we have the only opportunity to fix this for good, just as in the stress test. As soon as we go down below that threshold, we have nothing to work with, and we don't know if we're gonna fix it. Which means, okay, if we pause everything, shut down everything, and player activity goes down, and the stress goes down just a bit, we don't get those bottlenecks that we need to find and solve right now. Which means we're not sure if we fixed or improved anything. We may think we have optimized some things, but we may not have fixed an important bottleneck. And that means when we open up again, that many days or weeks later, people will be even more frustrated if it's the same thing happening again. That would be, I wouldn't even come here and talk with you if that is going to be the case, because then obviously we have failed in a way where, hopefully you understand what I mean. So again, we are extremely grateful for having the opportunity, and that people are still trying to get in and playing the game at the same time, because it's now when we can actually fix it once and for all. So, but like I said, I'm talking to Steam very frequently. I have a new meeting with them tomorrow to update them with what's going on, and I've told them that, look, we do what you suggest in this case because we want to do things as good as we can. And they told us that, look, do those plans that you have presented and working on and follow that, because if they shut down our sale, they also explain that we will kind of prevent some future events for the game, which would be unfortunate, because that could also help us taking great leaps in the future and expanding. So we have a close contact with them and discuss this. And it could be that we actually doing short pauses, depending on how things goes tomorrow. So I'm not saying that we're refusing to stop sale for the sake of it or anything like that. We have the same flow of players pretty much constantly, which is very important for us to have now when we work on this issue. Again, I hope that makes sense and explains why we are where we are. Scuff Boomer, thank you for the subscription. Good day, Henrik. I have a question. I think this game is great, but while I wait, can you note that we cannot play 2 AIAC games at once? I want to play Rust while I wait in the queue for Bottleneck 2. Keep up the great work. Good question. I can't answer it, I'm afraid. So AIAC is, as you know, a software from Epic Games that are exclusively worked on by Epic Games because of security reasons. No matter what we ask, they won't give us information, depending on security, because that's how they keep it closed and sealed. So we only know so much when it comes to some of the things. I'm sure that Sebastian and my guys knows more than what I can say here right now. But I don't know exactly how that works and what it allows or not at this point of time. And I don't know if that is common information that is available on the internet either. But yeah, it's something that we will try to respond to when I can pull some of the guys that actually can dig into that. But right now, I don't want to nag on them or disturb them when they're focusing on this main thing.
Oh my god.
Another one.
Slurpee Joe, thank you very much for the donation. Hi Henrik, when we collectively pull through this, you will have set up the foundation for the best MMO ever created. I believe in you as the CEO, and the dev team will come out stronger and better for this. Sleep is for when we are in the other world. Indeed, that's true. We are doing everything we can, and obviously I am careful about my coders that is working on this to make sure that they have what they need, and obviously don't break their brain while doing this, because then it could take longer. So they do need some important hours of sleep to be able to freshly work on it with great minds. But yes, we will get through this. Gizon, thank you for the donation. Can you address the in-game AFK time kick again? It seems like having a way to get AFK players of the game would great help the flow of queue and get more active players in game. Like I said, we have a system that we are gonna pinpoint and enable in terms of how it detects a player that have been AFK in a certain time, or and will disconnect them from the game. The other part is where it's also covered in some of our rules that we don't really support unattended macros, and it's kind of the same thing, right? You're AFK, doing some kind of command, and you may be asleep, and that means that our GMs, we're adding more GMs, we're educating GMs to handle this in a greater pace. They are going through almost like a car ticket, going through players. If they're unattended, macroing or AFK, not responding or playing the game for a certain amount of time, they will get a disconnect from the game, and that will obviously allows for those in the queue to quickly get into the game. So it is happening right now. It's on a progress as well. Do you plan to add more gold sinks into the game? Yeah, so there are several areas that will come along with both features and content. One big thing is obviously TC. There are several reasons why we didn't add TC at launch, and it's good why we didn't. And so that means when things are under control and we reach adding TC to the game, for instance, that's the big part of groups and guilds and players to actually build cities and different types of content for your buildings and cities. That's going to be a lot of money sinks, both buying and constructing, but also there's an upkeep tied to expanding into these different services, also hiring different services that comes along with some of those buildings. So that will be a growing, for sure. Depends obviously of what your goal is, if you want to go bigger or not. that is also tied to a a big important gold zinc investment. No more rollbacks, Henrik, with the subscription. Thank you very much,
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
with the subscription. Thank you. Yeah, rollbacks is obviously the devil for us. It's everything we want to avoid at any cost, and if we can, we will always do that. We got pushed into a corner with this patch, the latest step we did, which was very unfortunate, and we have put in extra additional measurements to avoid that at all costs. But there was a lot broken that it was impossible to manually adjust anything of that, and we had to take that step quickly. Can you make the login screen disableable so everyone's PC doesn't get fried in the 24-hour queue? Yeah, like we said before, we have got feedback from players that there's quite a load on that scene, and we will see if we can optimize that scene and also put a frame cap so it uses even less performance to just give you that option to remove that situation fully. So yeah, we just need some time to get that going. Are you confident to say that tomorrow there will be more players able to play on Milan? So obviously I want to be very careful about promising anything at this point of time when things are rough and chaotic. I can promise you that we are doing more than 100% that is in our power to have this improved and fixed as soon as we can, even more than in the stress test, obviously. And when we find these things that make sense and give us a good clear picture of some of the issues and bottlenecks, that is obviously very important, because then we have something to work with, to monitoring and profile and identify all those different steps. It's quite a complex system, and we've never been this deep in a cap ever throughout Mortal's history. This is new grounds where things get pushed in a whole new level, and every time things are pushed in a whole new level, it's bound to run into different issues and bottlenecks and even bugs. It's unavoidable to that degree, and the performance we have on the server and everything that we know that this raw performance data can handle this amount. As soon as we know that haven't been fulfilled yet, we're not happy with the capacity, and that capacity are struggling, starting with the login server that we're slowly now getting under control finally. But not until we have those stable numbers that we know that now Milan, have a better cap, full stability, and we don't have to worry too much about hotspots being affecting parts of the world negatively. So I feel some confidence in that the discovery of today very much makes sense and kind of showed why some of those things happen when packages stacked up. And my guys have gone through that. Okay, this is actually a bottleneck that we can greatly increase. Now when we do that, there is a possibility that when that bottleneck is fixed, bam, it goes into another one, and we need to go through that one. That is the struggle and difficult task with this, that you identify one thing, you solve it. It doesn't mean 100% that now everything is fixed, we have the whole capacity we are looking for. So that is something we're careful about. We know that we found a very important component, and it could be that it helps greatly and that it's a big noticeable difference. But it could be, like I said, that this brings us forward, but it shows us another cap that we have to go through. So I want to be very careful about promising that it's a holy grail patch tomorrow that fixes everything. It's many different important steps, and we have managed to take those steps just as in the stress test, then we feel confident that with time we will get us to a state and number where we are fully happy and confident that now we don't need to be able to accept more on mainland. Now the next natural step is when we get even more players is a second continent. So are you planning to fixing the issues where people macros when dead? So there's different component that we can see what's going on. Again, that is obviously, there are many steps, right? So there's not just one fix and all AFK things are fixed. Again, there are several steps that we're fully aware of that, okay, players can do this or that and that. And we need to be able to handle them or identify them in different ways.
Another one.
But again, the main goal here is not to have to spend all time on that area to counter. The actual main goal and solution is to make sure that Q is indeed working 100% as intended, and the rotation and capacity on the nodes and Milan is that large that it's a non-factor anymore. It doesn't matter if there's a few people standing, do macros or, you know, occupying a slot if the queue isn't an issue anymore. That is obviously the big step we want to take now, first of all. Thank you for the bits.
Another one.
Another one.
Should add max session length of 45 hours to keep queue. Yeah, I mean, there's many good suggestions, and we agree on a lot of this, no doubt, right? But again, right now, it's not actually bad if we see the worst case scenario in terms of load on everything, login, queue, and all that, because that's when we can do great steps forward. We can improve things, and we can directly see the current status and our different measurement and our different changes, and see that made a huge difference in this area. Now it's only these areas left, and when those are fixed, you know, that's how we can make very effective progression forward. And we try to minimize the time it takes for us to do this, obviously, because every day that goes and there's a long queue time, it's unfortunate and feels bad, right? But if we put in temporary solution that kind of reduces that stress, again, then it's difficult for us to actually make big improvements on those bottlenecks. If we're seating people's CPU, then they need to turn off enable multi-threading. It will stop it being eaten. Yeah, that option may help with the different with your CPU load. So that is, you can try that in settings and options for sure. As a player that would like this game to stick around, what are you as the CEO doing to support the burnout of your devs? Obviously, the plan is that this will be, you know, a limited time of chaos, both for, you know, for all of our sake, you know, players, patience, and obviously the team having the energy to go through this. But that is also why I said that it's still important that we do get some sleep, or we can't be efficient when we work. So it needs to take some time. We need to go through it. We can't just work until it's done and think that we can pull 3 days straight and think that is gonna be helpful. So we try to do this as effective and as good as possible we can, and have the right prioritized order on things. And as soon as it's under control, you know, we can breathe some more, people can enjoy the game more. That is number one step. Nostromoline, thank you for the donation. Have you thought about adding card games to the tavern like poker? Yes, we have a backend finished already for mini games, tavern games. And we just need to build a user interface and some part of the client before you'll be able to play different cards games on taverns, and you can even build your own casino house and invite players, and the bank could be collecting some fees so you can actually make a profit if people are playing there. So there are a lot of plans in those areas. We simply have those things on pause right now.
Another one.
Another one.
As for logo loop fix, yeah, that is one of the bug and issues that our guys have been struggling with quite a few times here. You know, it's so frustrating because people may think that queue is a common system and many games uses them, right? Quite straightforward. And indeed, when it comes to just having a queue, it is quite straightforward. It's not a extremely complicated system, but it all depends on how that queue connection works, how it sends you to the servers and the different server systems. So it's been quite a struggle for the guys to rebuild those parts that simply didn't work on a larger capacity scale that we have right now compared to throughout the whole beta. So of course it's unfortunate to see that it simply needs a different type of support to handle greater capacity. And that has been one of the things that they have been working on today. And it seems like they have done additional progress. So obviously next to the login system to be working just as intended, you know, what you would expect. You have your queue number, it goes down and you get in. Simple as that. Nothing else should be going on. They are working on that to make sure those last steps is also being fixed, while we also work on the step in from the login to the different Midland locations that we also run into a bottleneck in today's session. That like I said, we feel positive that we will have an update tomorrow that should greatly improve this, and hopefully there's no additional step after that we run into. Like I said before, that could be those cases that happens throughout this. Exactly similar things, but in totally other areas happen in the stress test. We fix one thing greatly, it run further, more capacity, more stable, and then bam, another cap. And we identify that area that is a completely different area, and it makes sense when you go through it. And again, something that doesn't happen with simulations or bots, because again, there are always cases where things are different in a live scenario with actual players spread out in the world. So it's very challenging. And, you know, we went through like 10, 15 of those steps throughout the stress test. And when all those were done, there was no other bottleneck anymore. And we could breathe and we can relax and sit down and actually enjoy watching you players playing the game and enjoying the game. And that's when we felt that finally, you know, now we have the capacity and stability we need. Now we're ready with that step, and we'll just follow through that to make sure that we remain in that. And now release game, you add additional zeros to all that stress, and now we're going through that route again, just as before. We're keeping Samuel going forward. If yes, so much would be yes. So again, we are not enabling any time or subscription while we're on this, obviously. So we hope that you will, you know, support us, or if you want to help us continue logging in and, you know, try to play the game, because that is what is number one helpful for us. Obviously, no subscription or timing will be running throughout this until it's under control. When we see it's under control and you as a player confirm, all right, I can get in, everything is working, there's no crazy things going on, and then we can enjoy the game. That's when we are going to make the announcement that, okay, now we plan to start the subscription for the game. And again, there's a very good explanation of why we have a subscription based, which we covered in almost every stream so far, and I also think we have it covered on our website. And I hope that people will, when we start to enjoy the game, that people may want to spread that knowledge of why, because it's heavily affect what kind of game you will be playing. And like I said, this is a quite unique game, and it's very different, and people seem to be loving the game and very excited to play the game based on the uniqueness of it and what it has to offer. That is quite different from most other MMOs. And one of the big components that allows this is a subscription-based model. And it also doesn't interfere or severely limiting you as a player, pay to win, locked content, to look cool, stuff like that. It's all out the window. It's all about the gaming experience in Mortal Line, and it's the same fee for everyone. And it also puts out a lot of crap from the game, pretty much. So there's so many pros and so few cons for us when it comes to Mortal Line and a subscription-based game. What was the mission current player pick today? So again, it greatly varies depending on the hotspots. And like I said on one of the questions before, obviously it's not acceptable if we tell the people to spread out and you can be twice as many on the server or three times as many. That is not an acceptable option, right? Because that is kind of what's happening now. There's a dynamic load that determines how many should be let into the server. And if some hotspots are greatly populated and are suffering in performance, it sends this information to another part of the server that handle the queue system, how fast that should be moving or let in players. So we're talking about several thousand in variation. And that is one of the big thing that we found today. Were we running into a cap where the actual CPU load and performance on the server was actually, quite calm, even though there was high action going on in that node and area. And that's when we've identified a certain amounts of packages that are hitting a cap. There was a roof on that, and it hit that cap. And when that happens, different actions are queuing up, and that's when you notice when you're shooting a spell or something, that spell affects the impact of the spells is delayed and stacked. That is instantly limiting gaming experience totally. So, and that is the big thing that we are adding tomorrow. So we're going to remove that cap or greatly increase it so the player packages won't hit that on the server. And hopefully that allows us to go much greater in those areas where a package cap is happening. And that should, again, let that node send the data to the login server saying, we are chill, there's no heavy load, we can let in more players. What lesson do you get from Adorable Game Kit, and you can apply it to Model Line too? So that was an experimentation getting into Unreal 4, which actually been quite a good step for us to get some knowledge, some testing, and also doing heavy optimization on fur and different steps that we're actually using in Mortal Line 2 today. But yeah. wife... Wait, where did I... My wife left me after I spent most of my days sitting in front of the PC looking at the queue number going down. She took the children with her as well, and my dog. Really miss my dog. I'm wondering if you will help me. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. We can't add spaces between words and it looks a bit weird. Yeah, we got that as a feedback, and hopefully we'll be able to allow a space to give you that option, but not right now. Model Line to ever become VR? Yes, along with Unreal 5, we will support, eventually support VR as well. And I do know you have a lot of Korean Asian players base playing this game and watching Twitch constantly. 600 to 1k Korean Twitch gamers audience. Yeah, actually, I noticed one of those streamers that have been playing quite a bit and are in the mainlands and seems to have fun. So that is awesome to see. And yeah, that's one of the cool thing with the game concept that we have. That it's one world, all nations can play in this world, and that is when, you know, things gets really exciting. We just need to get past this bump of login situation issues, and we all can start enjoying that step. I will jump down to latest and see if we have any other question we may want to cover before I start to wrap it on today's stream, because yeah, you don't want to listen to me repeat questions or going through the same thing all over again. And news about the reserved name issue. Yeah, so obviously we have a system for that, and we will take care of that as soon as we possibly can. Sebastian is going to handle that because he built the system, but he's also the main guy that helps with our current server issues. So we need a little bit more time until he should be working on those other areas, but we will have that handled for sure. Card deletion outside login, result haven. That will be a convenient thing. Sadly, it's not that easy because you have to log in to access the character. We were discussing, you know, depending on how the different things takes time, if we could allow an option to get back in a convenient way. But right now we feel that we're making great progress on the server and Milan hotspot situation. And we really want to get that in a proper position before we can start looking on the next steps. It's more content for Haven being planned while logging issues being fixed. So yeah, we are several developers, as you know, and obviously everyone can't sit and work on the login servers queue. Only a few coders can. While we also have our team, and we got great feedback and things that we know we want to continue on. Haven can benefit from some additional steps. We got a lot of requests from some things that could also be included in the tutorial to learn new players, and adding something more exciting, interesting as an additional option in doing on Haven before feeling that, okay, now I've seen a little bit more, learned a little bit more, before you may be ready on the Haven location. So you can expect to see some things going in and be expanded on there, along with some fixes and polish that have been reported now as well on Midland. Can you please ban people from help chat? Our GM and some different staff members have direct access and monitoring the help chat, so they should be removing those that simply doesn't follow the rules or use the help chat for the intended purpose. So, and we should have a 24/7 coverage on all that. Obviously, there could again be some effect on some of our staff, depending on the server load and situation as well. They're not just magically avoiding all that. So that could also be affecting that. But yes, we are covering it 24/7, and they are doing everything they can to keep it clean and make sure it's used for the right purpose. When is engineering getting updated? Would having extra spawn zones help spread out the load queue in quicker? So we have pinpointed the areas, like I said, when it comes to spreading out players. It's not really acceptable to force more spread than we have. I mean, you've surely seen some of the crazy hotspots today if you were in those locations where it was just like an army everywhere. And that also showed us that specific cap that is very vital for us to identify to be able to solve it. So, it's good in that way. But like I said, the natural cap or threshold should more be when you feel that this area too crowded, I want to move away. That is our goal to reach closer to. Is there a chance tomorrow patch messes up something so much that you will need another rollback? No. So we with this situation, we saw where we can actually save, or how do I say it? Add in like a more fail-safe. If something similar happens, we have a fail-safe, that option that we can take. So it shouldn't be an issue tomorrow in tomorrow's update. We are taking in people, but it's also quite a time to get into how things work. We can't just hire an engineering and giving a computer and say, here, do this or fix that or work on this. They do need to learn things. They need to start from the basics, and they also need quite frequently some more guys like Sebastian to faster progress in those different areas. So while we are doing that in a safe way, we can't just add additional guys if Sebastian can't respond to some of those questions. So again, we need to get past this first big struggle we have with the servers, and then we will keep on expanding on those areas. Do commanding game when? So we actually have that command, but there's a few steps left that we need to secure before you'll be able to do it in game. We've been testing it and it's progressing. There's some issues with it that we obviously need to iron out before we can put it in the game. So the status and flag status is working correctly, which is very important, obviously.
Oh my god.
So So it's getting in the game quite soon, I would say. This remaining release or go back to beta status? It will remain release, and we need to fix this now as soon as we possibly can. You know, if we're shutting down or going back, we're not gonna have this stress in the server anymore, and we're not gonna be able to solve anything, which means we will never be able to release the game because this will happen again. So we need to be here, you know, take the horns, you know, by your hands and just solve it, go through it, iron it out, you know. That's what we need to do. And it's, of course, very unfortunate that the gaming experience will be affected by that. That is the big pain from our end, obviously, because we know it's unavoidable. We just need to go through it. And we understand if people get fed up of it and give up. That's, you know, understandable. We just hope that most of the people will actually try the game again, give it a chance when things are ironed out, if you don't want to try anymore, pretty much. There's a huge rotation of players on a daily basis. It's not like there's only these thousands of players and that's it. You know, there is a rotation, quite heavy rotation going on. So even though there are cases of AFK players, etc., there are several hundreds of players that are simply playing their session and logging out from the game, and you know, giving those spots for others. And also, like I said, depending on the different loads, that queue may quickly add more players because of the different load on the different servers. Something we will greatly improve, and hopefully tomorrow's patch will be a good sign of taking a step forward with that. Current magic system is more support based than anything. Any plans on making it more offensive and maybe adding staffs to buff potency of magic effects? So magic is a huge thing in Mortal Online, and we only have, you know, the first basics of it, which is ecumenical school and spiritism, two very important basic school that offers quite a lot of important parts for the players, both being control of resurrecting players and you know, being a support, healer, purifying corrupt enemies. Very important in both PvE and PvP. That's, you know, to be very successful, you need those in your group. But yes, it's only that so far. We have, you know, additional, in totally, if I'm not mistaken, around 12 magic schools that are completely different from each other's. Some may be more effective in PvE, some may even be more effective for PvP, and there can be a combination of different things. So over time, you will see more magic schools entering the game. And if you're into magic, there will be really cool stuff to choose from over time, without a doubt. The next school coming in, for instance, is necromancy, which have some very important direct spells, and you can actually move while casting those spells. But it also allows you to build, you know, your undead army as a pet. Will you add guns to the game? We won't add gunpowder or cannons in the game, and that is the game design we decided early on. But you will have hand crossbows in different forms, from small repeater to more heavy, you know, with bolts you're waving up to reload over time, to heavy scorpion ballistas to put on ships and boats. So there will be those options. But no cannons or traditional muskets, pistols, or such. On a player's can Milan actually hold? It's definitely not infinite. No, it's not infinite in terms of a few factors. Obviously, one thing is the physical land space, where it's not, you know, practical. The space is too small. That is one big cap, obviously, that will always be there eventually. You building cities and houses. Eventually, I don't know if you played Star Wars Galaxies, but that huge areas where it was supposed to be a grand open empty space became a metropole eventually, and we're hoping that we can spread that out more, and also why we want additional lands and continents. And like I said, we have specific caps we're running into right now when certain nodes are being too populated, too many packages being sent to each others. That puts an instant hold on the queue, because if that caps happens, the whole world starts to lag, which affects everyone. So as soon as we can fix that, those nodes won't be affecting the other areas anymore. So this is why it's so important that we fix these things. And this is one of the things we are patching tomorrow that hopefully will greatly improve or fully solve that part of the servers. So depending on the areas, it can be everything from 2000 can start being an issue up to closer to 4,000 or 5,000, where they are more evenly distributed without having these hotspots loads. So it's quite a variation, which obviously we're not happy with until we have independent load. And that is also one of the reasons we have different nodes throughout whole Milan, to be able to calculate that data locally without affecting other areas of the game world. It's just that we're running into certain types of bottlenecks that affects the different parts, and that is what we're going through right now. Well, could you just roll back only Milan players? Because it's one database. Everyone is in the same world. So we have no way to separate your character from other characters. A dual mechanic in Haven would be really nice. Yes, and that is what is coming. We are working on that for Haven as well, and the whole world. It's been a request. It's nice to be able to duel safely with your friend, or just challenge anyone without actually committing a crime. So we will have dueling as soon as it's possible. As far as office respawning at your own house and stabling your horse, yeah, so that is planned for the TC functions. That will allow you those services. So it's not going to happen right now. It's going to take a while. And yeah, sure, that will help the spreading. But like I said, we are very keen on eliminating those bottlenecks that makes one area affect the other in a negative way. As soon as we can have that bottleneck removed, it doesn't come down to as severe. We can't be dependent on that players actually evenly spread out on Milan, and that is greatly impacting the player population and how many can log in. So one day, if we're unlucky, there's a huge war, then just a fraction can log in, and when everyone is very evenly logged out, then we can have a huge record on Milan. That is too severe due to those bottlenecks that I mentioned before, that we're not happy with that. We need to have a more reliable, even higher number without running into those issues. Former player got some questions. I missed first giveaway, but second was said to be done a day or two ago. However, there's no information. Did anyone won? Is the giveaway still on, or winner notifies? So the different giveaways we have been doing, there are two different teams handling those, and they will be contacting the winners and handling that. Some things of it, when it was when I did a giveaway with the different hardwares and stuff, those will be contacted with, if they're missing any information, to get those sent out. Just been quite chaotic. So, but that will obviously be taken care of. I think some of the packages already sent, but there are some left that are waiting on information. Do you also plan to add tiny details that would enhance RP and immersion with the world to achieve ultimate persistent world like Neverwinter Nights, Ultima Online did you base a bit on Edo? Yeah, so my favorite game in all time when it comes to MMOs is Ultima Online. I started as a beta player in that 96, and I played it for 10 years pretty much. It was my all-time favorite MMO. I was heavily inspired by that game. I can say that is the game that is the reason we're here today with Mortal Kombat 2. I was also very inspired by Star Wars Galaxies, also a very exciting MMO when that released. I played most of the MMOs after that and have been constantly looking for a new true successor to something like Ultima Online. And there have been nothing for me personally. And I put together the two greatest passion of mine and created the company and started the journey towards Mortal Online. So that is why many Ultima Online players feel at home in Mortal Online, because you recognize quite a lot from it. So yeah, and we're only taking the beginning now. This is the start of the journey, and we need to iron out the issues we have currently, and then we will keep on adding more content and features over time. It's an ever evolving game. It will never stop evolve. There's a lot of future planned content and features. Do you need any kind of historical advice, or are you not pushing for historical accuracy? So Mats is the guy when it comes to lore, building the world, doing it believable, and he also been designing the details of our crafting systems, which is heavily inspired by real logic, real things, and people have even been able to translate the different materials as they are quite transferable to real life materials, etc. And how do you make steel? You make steel similar how you would make it in real life. There's a lot of relations in that terms, which is very cool and interesting. We just have our own style and name and take on it. We are not on Earth, but we are inspired by real Earth rules, logic, and historical creatures in many ways as well. Yeah. Will race change be part of the game as it changes and evolves? We don't plan to allow players to change name or race in the game, because name and reputation and who you are matters, and you should be recognized as who you are and what kind of reputation you're putting into the game. There's consequences, there are rewards, and everything is tied to that. Everything else is changeable in the game, but race should be the important choice you do. And this is also why we invested heavily in making all races and clades interesting and viable in many different ways, including with the clade gift tree that gives them all something exciting and useful. So that is the big choice: what clade mix or you want to play. I mean, you still have a lot of options to go through in all the clades. It's just that they have some unique abilities and some pros and cons. But if you're not happy with the build, you can always rearrange stats and body type, age, size. All that can be changeable in the game in certain ways, except race currently. What magic school won the vote to be worked on next? Necromancy won. So Necromancy will be the third school. We will see if we can support spaces and special letters when naming things. I know it's desirable, and it's something we're gonna see if we can offer that when things are a bit more calm. And I see I'm very behind in the chat here, so I'm reading very old stuff. Gonna see if we have a few more questions before I go back to some work. What do you expect players to properly choose race? Yeah, so obviously we're trying to make the stats and race information as good as possible, with showing the different gifts and describing the races as good as possible. But yeah, obviously that is one thing, and then when you play around and get a feel for things, you may have a different view, obviously. So it's something we are following through. Same thing throughout the beta, trying to make the character creation as innovative as possible. We've seen that it's a very common thing to use different guides on the internet, and people read up on them, and people suggest things and help each other out, which is awesome to see that the community is growing heavily in that area. And of course, we try to see how can we improve it further without just bloating it with more information, because that is always a challenge. I mean, some suggestions that have came throughout in the later period, like having a option to maybe change race before leaving Haven or something, so you can try around a little bit more efficiently in Haven before you feel that, still the thing is that obviously you can't enter more endgame and many clade gifts to try those around, because it's part of the progression. So we will see how much sense it makes and it fits, and if it gives anything of value, or if, the problem is that we learned that we can't just add more text, because the minority of people, players today, read text. So we try to make it minimum and as effective as possible in terms of that. So, and also like in the beta, we are reading and receiving feedback and suggestions. How could we improve information in different ways for our players? Many times you guys have excellent suggestions and ideas, and if it fits, we may apply some of that in game as well. Can we get a queue estimate timer? Yes, we do have actually support for that, but we noticed that some of the bugs we have left, like a Starlord logo loop timeout thing that have happened still today. We're working on that one. As long as we can get those steps to be 100% stable, we're not entirely there yet, but as soon as we have that, we'll also have a code support for doing a estimate on the progression that actually gives you some kind of estimation over time on what you may expect time-wise. But we need to wait a little bit until that may be enabled. And plans to add rated arenas 2v2 or 3v3. Yes, we have a lot of plans for the Tinram arena, with different rules and sign up for different rules, embeddings, and so on, and even rankings. So we will expand on a lot of different areas of the game, over time. That is one of the part of the ever evolving game development. Bottleneck 2 will never be really finished. It will keep on evolving as long as we have players supporting us and want to play the game. We'll be able to change clade gifts in the future. Yes, you will have that again quite soon. We just need to get these initial issues under control, and then you will see some of those being enabled into the game quickly. About elementalism, is it going to be similar to Model 1? And also, when is the plan for release? Within months or more like a year later? Elementalism will be quite similar to how it was in Model 1, yes. There are no major gameplay changes when it comes to that school. There are going to be refinement and some polishment in some of the spells, but it will be quite similar. And I don't have a time frame for elementalism yet. So the next school is Necromancy, as you know. And as soon as we are delivered that school, we have a few options. We want to have mentalism and staff magic quite soon in the game, but we are also quite open to hear if you want to affect that outcome. The order of which they come into the game is not very important for us, but we want them quite early in the game because we know what kind of value it will bring to a lot of players and what it brings to Magic, to widen Magic, to offer more styles and options as for those that are enjoying Magic. Elementalism is also one quite common school that we intend to have quite early. It's not one of those rare special case schools. So I would say that is also close to any of these two I just mentioned. So we're quite open, as I said, to hear what most of the players would like to see in what order when it comes to those schools. And also, like I said, we are hoping to expand our team to allow for more than one Magic being worked on at the same time, so we can expand even faster. And more Magic, please. I watched Modern 1 and the elemental spells were some of the coolest Magic I've ever seen. It was really cool in the first game. Our Magic schools was very epic, no doubt. And yeah, you can see those spells on YouTube where some people are showcasing the spells. And yeah, we see in the reaction that, holy shit, I'm really looking forward to getting into more Magic in Mortal 2, because you can only expect that it will look even cooler in Mortal 2, more refined as well. So yes, for sure, we do want to expand on Magic as soon as we can. There's a huge demand for having more Magic, no doubt. Yeah. We're going to see a return of dismount and knockdowns. Yes, we will have a knockdown when you get knocked down to the ground and you have to stand up again. So there's a small, an obvious penalty when you're hit down to the ground. There's quite a few things we need to add in our control system and making sure it's 100% reliable, so you don't get into a bad state and things can get heavily ruined. So that is why we haven't rushed into adding that mechanics just yet, but we will have it. We're fixing things in game while players can't even log in. Yeah, so like I said, all the developers are working on making sure that the gaming experience gets as polished and as smooth as possible. While the coders are working on the critical parts with the servers, we have some working on some of the reported things, and we have art working on reported things that are, look bad or is wrong in the world. So right now we're not planning to add a feature or big content in the near patches. It's all about getting the server under control and just polish and smooth. That is the main focus. As soon as that is under control, that's when we can go through our roadmap and put that live on a website and start working forward. You can transform into an animal with animism. Yes, animism allow you to transform your body parts into different types of animal stuff. So that is one of their unique things, that you can transfer your body in a very cool way and take advantage of those beast forms in different ways. Will PvP be optional? Please say no. No, it won't. So all MMOs today is pretty much PvP optional, or PvP or PvE server zones and all that. And you know, it's understandable why the different games and companies have taken those roads. But we're trying to offer something that is quite unique, going back to the roots, but making it more next-gen, you know, what I call it, going back to kind of core rules from Ultima Online, Star Wars Galaxies, but then trying to make it more next-gen, so it's interesting for a new type of audience as well. And just looking at what kind of games have been popular and how the reaction have been so far throughout the whole beta, Mortal Online have got a lot of interest and praise for being a very exciting game that offers something that is very different from all other MMOs. So we're not trying to go those roads, copying those other MMOs, because that's not what we're good at, and that's not what we're trying to build. We are adding important components that will put murders and griefing in check and minimized, because that comes with consequences. Something we said since day one. And there are still some components that are going to add to this into the game that is very important to understand. That, you know, we always say that think twice before you're innocently murdering someone or becoming a murderer, because you're closing doors both in nation standings, but also your freedom out in the world. And also we're adding the bounty system eventually that will put even more pressure on red players that are murderers. And those steps are happening now as well. We believe in a free world where you can do these actions, but with a consequence. And there's some kind of balance in order for this. You know, guards will be patrolling just as they were in the first game. And that means if you're close to those guards, you could get some protection if you're there. And we also said that along with Spiritism and all the cities in the world and player housing, players have the option to choose where they resurrect and all that. So that means we are removing the red priests that are standing outside blue towns. That doesn't make sense anymore. They're just there to like help those that want to kill and get back freely and easy. So there are some of those steps happening in upcoming patches as well to get that balance and order in place, as we have talked about very importantly. What about multiplayer account via multiple Steam accounts? That doesn't help you. You're just adding more strain on your computer, pretty much. The queue system won't give you a higher or a closer number. If you're holding 10 queue spots, you act as one identifier on Steam. So it's just a waste. You don't benefit from having multiple Steam accounts. What did happen though in the earlier queue system, when we actually had a bug when you can time out into an infinite loop, when you had 10 of those accounts running, then a few of them could be in an infinite loop, while one could actually be in a working loop. So that gave you a better chance to actually get into the game. So that's actually where it made sense. But now with the new queue system, that's not happening anymore. So it won't really help you. Horse griefing is bad. I lost 4 horses in 2 hours just 200 feet from town. Kill horses only and leave 2 separate people. If you're not on the horse, barely can notice. Yeah, like I said, so there is one flag missing, which is quite important, as you can understand. If someone is attacking your horse or your pet, and you're trying to defend that pet, and they kill you, you will be able to place a murder count. That is a flag that is missing. So in that case, You may not be able to place a murder count, but you will be able to. So that will also come in one of our upcoming patches. That is important flag missing. Why remove red priest? So as I said, when you become a murderer and want to kill people moving out from the cities, which we're seeing some people are doing, do want to do, that's fine. You can do that, but like we said, we're not placing murder priest servers outside of every town to promote that gameplay, because that is not what a murder is all about. You know, the game will have murders. There will always be those that enjoy playing those that jump on people, but that comes with a risk and consequences, and we always stated this very clearly. And there will be several steps and several options in the future as well that will give the different players, blue and red, bounty hunters, bounty hunted ones, have different options. And obviously it doesn't make sense to have one red priest placed out of every city to support that we just have said that we placed those temporarily because we didn't have resurrection. Players couldn't resurrect each other's, and we didn't have home bases, so you can't build your own base where you re-equip and gear from and start playing. We have those in place now, so there's no reason to take out the temporary priests that we added for game testing purposes when you couldn't resurrect each other's. So obviously we'll be able to resurrect each other's with Spiritism. It's an important goal, and you can build your own home, your own base. And there are 2 red cities also for this purpose, Galkor and Kranish. There you have red priests. They're lawless, and if you're a lawless players and want to play there, you can do that. So you have several options as a red still. We just simply, putting those important pieces in place that makes the game how we, have promised it to be. And yes, you will also be able to hire priests at your own house with the TC patch, so you will have even more options eventually. PvP will not be optional. I responded on that a few minutes ago. PvP is an integral base core part of Mortal 9. It's a huge open world with consequences, and you can avoid PvP at a great degree if that's something you want to avoid, and you can always find different new routes and roads, and you can stay closer to some of the security and upcoming patrolling guards, etc. But there are always a risk and danger out in the world from both players and monsters, obviously, and animals. And it's part of the excitement and the unique experience in the game. I mean, we have had a lot of people that don't enjoy or primarily focus on PvP, but had a blast throughout the whole beta. So, it's more that, okay, you need to understand that it has PvP, and, you will encounter PvP sooner or later, no matter what, Of course, you can always be a full-time crafter, remain in the cities, and avoid it at all cost. But obviously, adventuring and taking risk out in the world is part of one of the excitement. And sooner or later, you will most likely venture into PvP in some type of form. And it's part of the game. But like I said, we have quite a lot of players that are not primarily focusing on PvP, but are more focusing on either crafting, exploring, or PvE. Doing dungeons with their group and friends, building their cities, and doing focus on that. And that's perfectly fine as well. That's the beauty of the true sandbox game we're offering. How you address players abusing the loading range in PvP, running out of a range to unload when rushing back in to close distance before they reload. I mean, the interest is loading range for characters goes both ways, right? So you're not in control of that. The player positions are on the servers. So it goes both ways. And depending on where you are in the world, if you're moving towards each other very close to a no line, that experience may be even shorter than, and in some cases it may be super far. So, but it's the same thing for everyone. When I see you, you can see me. That's how the network works. So it's the same for everyone. You can't really affect that on your own side. The slider on range in option doesn't determine the player draw range, just to make that clear. Are the murder counts going to be account wide so that people are not re-rolling just to get rid of them? So it touches a little bit the system that we talked a little bit before, which is the Diva system, which is the idea to have account bound reputation and siblings. Again, it's quite early on to go through the details because we need time and proper planning to see if that fits and work with our game that we have designed many years ago. This system, which we call Diva system. So that is kind of how, because we have one of the thing is one reputation. You have one reputation, but there's also a huge demand of, can't I at least be able to build two characters because I enjoy two very different styles, and now we offer so much. The Diva system was the answer to that it shares your last names and it shares your reputation, so you can't steal going against what you have been doing on one of your character, and that is kind of touching that question as well. If you're playing as a bad player on your one character, your sibling, as in your possible other character, will have the same reputation, including if you may re-roll. But this is still a bit unsure and unclear, but it touches that system, as you can understand. And we will revisit in the future to see if that is the step we want to take. All right.
Oh my god.
Another one.
Keep Henry more alive. We love you, friend. Thank you so much, Ibarri, for the donation, and thank you for your support. An update on network is related to player armor loading in. No, I explained it a little bit in previous streams. It's not there's no quick number to change where we can have that at a very great distance. It's a huge network optimization and system that needs to be as tight as possible for us to allow hundreds of people on the screen. But we will revisit it to see how we can refine the system for some of the first players around you, to see if we can push those numbers around a little bit without wrecking any network performance when you are in a large scale battle. Again, it goes both ways, so everyone is in the same situation. And yeah, it's not optimal to see the gear a little bit too late than you would have wanted. So we know that it's a common request that we're gonna revisit as soon as we can. how does the engineering skill work?
Oh
So
my God,
engineering is
Another one.
speeding up build progress, and it will also allow you to construct certain things, especially with the TC patch coming. We didn't want to limit the first and big basic feature that many are looking forward to, like constructing a basic house, to investing into engineering, almost forcing everyone to dedicate into engineering to build your own small house. So we decided to give that option more easily. Anyone can construct a basic house and start building, but you will be able to build more efficient, faster, and specific things with engineering with TC content coming. It's possible to get the starter map torch back if we left it in Haven Bank. No, unfortunately not. The starter sword is for sure a good thing to have as a new player, but it will run out eventually, and the damage and such is, you know, at a new low level. But yeah, it is good to keep that sword with you until it's consumed, and you will move over to normal gear. So yeah, you know, if that becomes a common issue on Haven, then obviously we will see how can we help to limit that from happening. When I think about resources get quality, that affects the build item. So we went through quite a bit of this in the first game, and we decided that the better solution was to pretty much what we have now, where the finished result will be what you know it will be, and it will always have the same hit points. It was quite a complaint when that wasn't the case in the first game, which kind of forced everyone to go for that elite materials, or your house would be gimped, and it wasn't really good. So now it more affect your build time, how effectively you can build something instead. So you can build, you know, the slow way, use cheap materials, and it will take longer, or you can invest in some higher tier materials to make it more efficiently, quicker to build it. And we think that is a better way, which also means when you are finished, you can feel satisfied that this is as good as anyone else's house. You haven't made a mistake. You don't have to rebuild it because you made it poorly, and it feels better for the player experience. But we will add options to let you modify the visuals in different steps, so you can still put your unique touch on it, including with totally new different types of house styles as well. When is Thievery coming? Thievery is one of the features that is in the close roadmap. I can't say exactly when until we had the time to sit down and go through the roadmap and present that to you guys. But Thievery is quite the feature that we want early in. Thievery is an important part of the game world, and we want players to have that experience, you know, early in the game and adapt to that, and, you know, either play as a thief or learn how to watch out for thieves. There's an important change from the first game that we're doing, though. So we add more risk reward and proper planning reward into Thievery, rather than how it was in the first game, where they pretty much stole, failed, resurrect, repeat until they managed to do it correctly. Now you need to invest more planning and tools, so you don't just throw your thievery attempt away without, you know, a meaningful attempt. Are there any more dungeon or unique creatures types being added soon, or are they further out? So I don't know. I actually haven't been able to watch your players progress. Haven't been able to watch streams, etc. too much. As you can know, the main focus have been improving the login servers and all that. But there are new dungeons, new creatures added since the release. Quite a few more, and also more wildlife and bandits, etc. spread out throughout the world to, again, hit that hopefully sweet spot where it feels exciting and interesting and not as empty as it was during beta. But it's still a work in progress where we may feel that, okay, this area needs even more and so on. So it's, the world is evolving also. There are getting more wildlife eventually in some areas where we still think it needs some more. And there are a few creatures still that will be added in the upcoming patches as well.
Oh my god, another one.
Logistical fail. Thank you for the subscription. The game will be playable tomorrow. So tomorrow we have an important server update. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, we have identified one of the big bottlenecks on packages being sent to each others, which means it delays server stuff, data between each others, and queue will completely slow down. So we have an important update tomorrow, and we're also looking to make an additional update to the queue system that should hopefully iron out some of the missing pieces. There are still things that are not 100%. So hopefully that will make the capacity much better, more stable, more players will be able to get in, and a much faster queue rotation. That is the goal. And we will see those steps tomorrow, how the result of that, what kind of difference it does, and we'll take it in those steps.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Grix, thank you for the subscription. Are tagmentons bugged?
Oh my god,
They shouldn't.
Another one.
Are they? I haven't had the time to test fighting a tagmaton or anything like that. If you find a bug with them, then we appreciate if you report it, and we will take a look for sure. Kark, thank you for the gifts. Very generous of you.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what staff magic will give the players? So one of the big components and important step is to be able to build a proper staff that is personally bound to you with your magical powers, and you will use that for using all staff magic. And then obviously there's different spells that you'll be able to cast using your staff in hand. You will be able to wield it at the same time, so you can also use it as a weapon while you will be able to cast spells. So that is kind of what makes staff magic quite unique. So one big component is how to build the perfect staff for you, and you can build that in different ways and make it look quite different and unique for your personal style, what kind of powers and abilities you want to draw from that staff. And then you have a set of spells that you will be able to use. So that is, the basics in short of what you will expect from the staff magic.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
We're considering a scheduled server reboot every day like EVE-Online. So we try to push that boundaries further than having that reboot on a daily session. What we have tested and successfully done so far throughout the beta is having a weekly reboot rather than a daily one.
Another one.
Another one.
And that is our goal, but we are obviously looking into if there's anything that we can benefit more from having that it more frequently, then we may have to do so. But so far that is set to once a week. Do you plan to allow players to one-time take more from Haven for us stuck?
Oh my god, another
We don't
one.
plan to do that
Another one.
currently. Yes, that means you can't. There's no point in grinding a lot of gold and money because obviously you can't bring that all with you. But you can still build your character. You can build clades and character skills. You can buy skill books, invest those in your character. So there's quite a lot you can do. And
Another one.
right now we'll let it be like that until we have fixed the progression to Mirrorland. And when that is done, we aim to have some restriction on Milan where we feel that you will be able to progress and train and stay as long as you want, but some areas should be a little bit restricted on your character progression that you will continue to do on Milan. Because also we are looking to in the future possibly add free access to the game on Haven only, which will then also obviously require some of these steps to make it make sense. Will there be a non-magic counter to hit scan magic soon besides Psych? Yeah, we are planning to add some materials and enchantment component that also have some effect on where the spell hits you. Because you can still aim on the different body parts with your with ecumenical as well, which means there's a different effect on the head or the stomach, and depending on what you may wear, there could also be an effect on this.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
Jesus, got so bright.
Oh my god, another one.
Another one.
All right. Well done. One patch. I see world is full of people again. All spawns are farmed. There's quite a bit in rotation,
Oh my god, another one.
even though we have a constant too slow queue still for us to be obviously happy with where we are standing. But we have been progressing quite a bit, even though everyone may not notice that. And tomorrow is an important day for us as well to further remove one bottleneck that we have
Oh my god,
established
another
today.
one.
Another one.
So we will get there exactly how we did in the stress test. We just need the time and patience, and we will get there and finally be able to enjoy the game at full. Could we talk about the changed frequency a little? some of the changes will be how you will build your pets and control them, take control over them. Some of those steps in the first game wasn't really followed the firstly intended design, and there was a limitation on what we could do. So there will be some changes on those rules and how that works. And we'll go through the spells and polish them a little bit as well. But in short, you have, you know, quite the idea of what to expect coming from the first game. You know, you will have some of those spells that is important in both in PvE and PvP. And but in general, we say that one of the changes is how you build and control the pets a little bit. There will still be a ritual how you kind of build your Walking Deads in different ways. And plans to open NA server. I really want to play, but not on AU. So we had a lot of discussion on that as well, and explain why we have spent several years in the network coding to make sure that you don't really notice a general difference between playing from America or Europe. There are cases where there are a difference, but in general, it's not comparable to any other MMO or any other game where your latest independent. You know, we have equal amount of players from Russia, Asia, North America, Brazil than we have in Europe, and we measure all the data and see how that performs. And the majority think that there is no difference, and it's impossible to notice it because we have a ping normalization and latency. And a prediction for all movement, and the server determines and verifies all the attacks and everything. There's one area where there's a difference when the latency becoming very high, which is the parry function, which is not just there's no quick easy fix to make that the same as an attack, for instance. That is why we have delay on when you can actually do a parry. That is one of the main reasons, and also the main reason of the speed we have currently. So a lot of time have been spent into making sure that everyone is playing on the same terms pretty much, and you quickly adapt and learn how to play if you have a higher latency as well. We have a lot of players from Australia actually, that is generally the highest latency players we have in the game, and it's working very well for them, which didn't at all in the first game. So in general, from North America, you won't notice a difference if we place a server in North America, actually. And also, it's one of our core rules that we want one world, all nationalities being able to run in one of the world. But we also mentioned that we now have the technology to actually place another continent on another location, such as North America. We will see if that is something we want to do or not. It's unsure currently. I think I need to grab some night snacks, guys. It's getting a little bit late and it's been long days for everyone. And very little sleep, because even though I'm tired, I want to solve this now. And I'm extremely invested and involved and passionate about this, as you can understand. And there's no chance in the world that you know that we're gonna be put off and give up. That's no way in the hell. There's no other MMO like this. This is my personal favorite game as well. I want to play it as well, and I will be damned, you know, to make it happen. So yeah, again, thank you all, guys, and thank you so much for your patience and understanding. Again, we know that it's not fun to struggle with the login. It's a pain for all of us. We will get through it. We will improve it, and hopefully tomorrow's upgrades will show a good difference moving forward. And soon we can look back at this chaotic start. So yeah, thank you all for donations and subscriptions and all your support, and thank you for your questions. And I will see you tomorrow again, and we have some important stuff to update on the servers. Let's see, shall we do a raid today, guys? We have let's see who we got online. What do you say? Do you have any suggestion to do a raid, so you can see some mortal hopefully as well while I take a break?
Some of our most productive members, to be honest with you. I didn't get that emotionally invested in this game.
Let's see, Jonah Vale.
I'm way more emotional.
Yeah, Jonah is online. Who do we got more? Jonah. Jonah Pizza Guy. I don't see Pizza Guy. Is he online? Am I blind? Is Pizza Guy also streaming? Why don't I see him? No, I don't see Pizza Guy either. No, I don't think he's online, guys. He logged. Ah, okay. Shall we do it to Jonah then? Or what do you say?
Stay hungry and watch out for Jack Bauer.
He have a good understanding of the game, and he's very helpful for new players. If there's any new players or any of these questions that I haven't covered, I'm quite sure he can help with it as well. I don't know anyone else, actually. I haven't been as busy following our streamers as you can understand. What do we say? What do we say, guys? You know, Jonah Vale, or is there anyone else that could maybe cover some questions that people may have? I'm not recognizing anyone, actually. Only Jonah. Yeah, I have to. Hopefully, I will be able to follow streamers more soon again, because it's very enjoyable for me when relaxing, calming down, and see players' experience playing the game. And it's nice to get to know some of our streamers.
We will literally, as soon as people submit like a bunch of emotes, we'll vote on them on stream, and I will literally add them. I don't care what they are, as long as they don't break toss. Community submitted emotes.
All right. Pizza Guy is offline, guys. Jonah is today, and then next time I will see if I can do rotations. I know Jonah can answer a lot of questions for you guys. If there's any new questions, race options, builds, a common question from players, you have all those answers covered. I'm sure of. And then we will do some rotation.
You're gonna have to answer questions. I always do.
Okay, guys. Again, thank you guys for tonight and your questions. And I will see you on tomorrow's patch. Hopefully that will be a smooth one, and hopefully we will all see an improvement. Very important step forward. All right. Thank you so much again, guys, and have a good night.
If he was smart, he wouldn't show his name around here. Mom jokes, bro. It's embarrassing.
PvP won't be removed. No. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.